Hi, let's make some houses for a rusty post-apocalyptic world. And today we're going to make the mayor's house. So here we go. I lost all my footage of me actually building this building because I'm a professional editor. But here it is. Here's what I've cobbled together through bits of cardboard, some corrugate and some straws, some XPS foam. And I've got a greeblet. There we go, that was fast. Perfect greebles. So I want this to look really rusty and like someone's hobbled it together from like an old military installation or just an old warehouse or something. But this is where the mayor of my little imaginary rust town's going to live. But I needed something with this big tall pipe here. And I also got to do something with these weird underhangs because the piece of packaging foam I've got isn't flush to the floor. So I thought, why not just make tiny small detail bases? I don't like terrain with bases anymore. I've gone right off bases for terrain, but I quite like having piles of stuff piled up against my terrain. So that's what I've tried doing. Just building little rust piles, using little bits of plastic from my extensive crap box. And it all looks pretty good. Bits of water pistol, some beads, bits of plastic, anything I can find. I've got these horrible, crappy strands all over it, and there's a really easy fix for that. But you've got to be a bit careful. We'll get to that later. And what build is complete without googly eyes? There's googly eyes on the front door. If I can pick them up. There we go. And sadly these won't be googly eyes forever, but they are perfect spherical little details. And they look really nice as like little windows and all sorts. Of course you need a door handle. What door is complete without a door handle? As you can see, I don't really plan my builds, they just kind of happen. Sometimes I stick things on that don't look right. Like this little knob thing was way too big, so I just cut it in half. And then I had two doorknobs. So you know, it's like a little Bob Ross. Happy little accident. And I've got these weird sprue bits, and I think they're from like some 10mm soldiers I got in a magazine on holiday. I don't actually know where half the stuff in my bits box comes from. It's just stuff I find. Quite often people think, oh, I found this interesting piece of plastic, and they give it to me, which is nice because I like interesting bits of plastic. And now we're just going to cover all of these little greebly bits in some PVA glue. Couple of reasons. One, I can sprinkle sand on, which makes for fantastic texturing, especially on rusty buildings. And two, it really makes sure that nothing's going to move. We're not going to have any little bits fall off. It's just going to stick on. And we like things sticking on. Nothing worse than terrain with bits falling off. I made some rust piles, and I really need to spray some more adhesive on them because they're kind of flaky, which is kind of good for rust piles because they're rust piles, they should be flaky. If your rust piles are solid, then you've messed it up. Or maybe you messed up because you're making rust piles. Is rust the prelude to messing up? Anyway, too philosophical, too deep. Let's throw some sand on it. There we go. Yeah, a bit of sand. Get in there. You could be careful, but I'm not. I literally throw it in. There we go. I'll chuck sand everywhere, even on bits that aren't holy. It's a really good way of fixing any mistakes you've made. If nothing's quite flush to the side, you can just chuck some sand in and it makes some lovely textures. If you're really fancy, you could probably, you know, fill it with filler, but I'm not. Just going to get a lovely close-up of that texture there. There we go. Bit of a close-up of some more texture bits. Now it looks a bit ramshackle now, it's all different colours, but trust me, once you've sprayed it, you get some dry brushing all that colour, it's going to look lovely. There we go, the magic of cinema, it's all sprayed up. I give it a quick zenithal highlight from above with a light grey, just using cheap rattle cans, because using expensive rattle cans on terrain I find is a bit of a waste. The stuff you get from most hardware stores works just fine, so just try and use that if you can. And I also lost all my footage of me spraying it and dry brushing it, so here's just a little pre-after, because I've lost all my footage, and I wanted to make the video. I've deleted out 5 videos, and I just wanted to put a video out. Despite me losing all my footage on the reg, I need to get a camera. I'm using a phone camera at the moment, so if anyone wants to, post me an old digital camera, that'd be great. But anyway, I've got a lovely rust colour. I just use orange acrylic paint and a sponge. It's really easy. And then once I've got all that, I tend to stick tiny bits of painter's tape. You can use masking tape for this, but I find it's a bit too aggressive. But this painter's tape is designed to go underneath things that have been painted. And I just cover all of the little bits of metal plasticky bits that I want to be coloured. Because I want some of that rust showing through, but I also don't want it to just be a brown and orange lump of rust. I like some colours in there because it makes it a bit more interesting. So we go over the entire thing, just sticking on little bits of roughly shaped, torn up painter's tape. And you get them everywhere. It looks a bit weird. I kind of like it though. So once you've got the tape on, you just have to get some nice bold primary colours and slap them on. I'm only using cheap acrylics on this, I'm not using anything special. And I try and sort of divide them up into like putting a bit of every colour everywhere. In my head canon about this model, it's a shack that the mayor's put together by grabbing bits of scrap he's borrowed or taken or stolen or bought from other places. And he just bodged in all the holes of this installation he lives in. In my head it's kind of like a military installation. There's a big speakerphone on top so he can proclaim his will to the masses, even if they don't want to hear him. They quite often don't want to hear him. And I suppose while I'm painting these bits I can tell you a bit about the town I've made in my little game. It's called Deep Rust Rampart. It's called that because it's got a big defensive wall around it, a big rampart, and it's called Deep Rust because they've got a rust mine, where it's a mine where they just hack out old technology. They live really close to a junkyard, and so they generally try and pull out as much technology from this big slag heap as they can. But it's been there for so long, it's all kind of crushed and condensed down, so they can actually almost mine out technology. But a lot of it is quite rusted, because it's been there for a long time. So they pull out technology from this kind of mine they've created, and they can sell it on. And because of that, the town's become quite wealthy, but it is mostly made out of old, dilapidated, crappy tech. And this is in my Trash, Rage and Robots universe on the planet of Kilobrak, which is a crazy planet. Basically, if you think about an 80s or 90s kid dreaming of a planet, it's Kilobrak. There's dinosaurs, there's robots, there's mushrooms, there's raiders, there's Mad Max wastelands, there's mountains. And I'm making this to play a roleplay game with some friends of mine. I'm also creating a roleplay book, so you can roleplay games in this universe. But anyway, once you've got all the paint done, you can either wait for it to dry, if you're sensible, or if you're really impatient, like I am, you can just pull all the bits off. No one's going to judge you. Sure thing. Now in hindsight, I kind of think I'd want to do the bottom bit a concrete-y colour, and the top bit's more rusty. There's a lovely texture on that packaging foam thing I found, and I kind of think I'd like to maybe do that like a concrete-y colour, and then the rust will look a lot better. So if I'm going to do it again, I'd definitely add 2 different tones to this building. I wouldn't make it all rusty. And then, because I like doing it, I just stick loads of posters all over my buildings. I got into this habit after watching a lot of Devs and Dice, who is a fantastic Mordheim board creator who creates loads of his own posters for Mordheim, and I've used a lot of his posters to do Mordheim boards because I think posters really add a lot of depth to the story. And so I've just printed out some generic sci-fi posters. There's a few wanted posters, and there's have you seen this robot posters and classifications of ship posters. You can get them from basically anywhere. You can even ask AI to make them for you, although you probably shouldn't, because AI is evil and shouldn't be making nice things, just doing accounting for us. But anyway, there's my lecture. Anyway, some glamour shots. And here it is. Here's the mayor of Deep Rust Rampart's house. A lot of textures going on. It's a very quick, bodged together build, but I quite like quick builds sometimes, especially if you want to get something on a D&D table just to represent some terrain. Anyway, that's this build. Next time, building more houses for Deep Rust Rampart. And if you like this, please consider liking and subscribing. And I'll catch you in the next one.